Hi there. Thank you for tuning into episode 38 of the Fourth String Sports podcast. This is the full calorie episode. We had our light episode. The last one that we did talking about the Bucs. This is our episode 38, our main episode. We got our what's list. We're going to talk NBA and the Clippers getting bounced. I may have jumped the gun on that one. We got week 1 of the NFL season is in the bags, as well as we had our week 2 Thursday night game. We're going to just talk about some key points with that. We've got our what's list. We've got our hero. We have our putts. And we're also going to give a quick shout out to the return of the Big Ten. But preview on our next light episode, we are going to be diving very deep into the Big Ten. We're going to be getting all up into that shit. We're going to break down the schedule. Skylar's going to throw a temper tantrum. Me and Mitch are going to
laugh our asses off.
Yeah, me and Mitch are going to have just a grand old time. So we appreciate everybody for tuning in to the Fourth String Sports Podcast, episode 38. Follow us on everything: Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, SoundCloud, Reddit, YouTube. And email us your guys' thoughts, fourthstringsp@gmail.com, fourthstringsp@gmail.com. With that being said, boys, let's talk about the NBA first. So in our last main episode, I jumped the gun with the Clippers having a 3-1 lead on top of the Nuggets, and I said, let's just preview the Western Conference Finals. Because I didn't think that the Clippers were going to lose 3 straight games and technically lose 4 out of 5. And they did. They did. The Nuggets become the first team in NBA history to come back from 2 3-1 deficits to win their series. So now we have to talk about the Clippers just a little bit. For a team that was the definition of super built, I mean, their bench alone, like if you take their bench of Lou Williams, Landry Shamet, fucking Montrezl Harrell, Marcus Morris, and whoever else you want to put in there, their bench alone could win you 45 games and get you to the playoffs. So how is it that if that's their bench, they get bounced by the measly fucking Nuggets, who are still a good team, don't get me wrong, but are a team that are built on Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic? How does that happen? And if you're the Clippers, what the fuck do you do now?
I mean, it's kind of simple. Your second All-Star never showed up. I mean, Kawhi had to put the team on his back, and unfortunately there was times where even Kawhi kind of choked, as the media is running with right now, where he wasn't himself. And when Paul George can't really bail you out, it's kind of hard to put it on the bench. And the bench was kind of like Milwaukee's bench. They just really didn't show up. And I know there's even talks of the Clippers are trying to trade Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell right now. And right now, obviously, Paul George wasn't the right fit for Kawhi Leonard, and he needs a better superstar than him. So you got to find him a running mate, and just kind of like what the Bucks need to do, find a running mate for Giannis and then build the bench up back again. That's seriously what the Clippers need to do if they seriously want to make another championship run and probably consider a new head coach.
I'm going to go with lack of energy, honestly. Watching those games, those Clippers, they did not look like they wanted to win that series. Or they felt like it almost looked like it was beneath them, the fact that they had to play the Nuggets in order to get to the conference finals. Yeah. That once they went up to a 3-1 lead, there just was no oomph behind this team. Like, Kawhi, I'll give it to him. He's more of a calm, reserved guy. He's not yeah, he'll throw some shade every once in a while like most NBA players do, but he's not a guy that's going to get, pumped and try to keep the energy. There was no energy coming from the bench, and I mean, everybody was talking about how that energy from the bench, that teams needed to create their own energy to build off of, and I don't think the Clippers are built that way. I mean, the guys that we're usually expecting that from, like Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams, Marcus Morris, that are a little bit more they have a more of an energy and are willing to bring it. Those guys weren't bringing any energy in those last 3 games. So just that I think kind of, and whether that's a player thing or whether that's a coach thing, it needs to be fixed. I mean, I'm with you guys when I'm saying that I'm kind of surprised Doc Rivers is staying around. I still think he's a really good coach, and if he did get fired, he'd find a job. But it's I think some changes need to be made. I don't think it's Paul George, because also I don't think Paul George is the kind of guy that also is a hype machine. I think they need to bring somebody in that can build some energy, or at least reliably build energy.
But I would argue that they have that in Patrick Beverly. You know,
but then where was he?
Loudmouth. Well, that's the thing. Patrick Beverly, let's not get this wrong. Patrick Beverly is not a good NBA player, okay? He's just a guy who, like Russell Westbrook said, can run around a lot, can sort of defend, and is a big talker. That's it. But like this Clippers team just went wrong in so many ways. I mean, the fact that in the last game, fucking Harrell is your team's leading scorer with 20 points, George only puts up 10, is ridiculous because this was the Clippers team that without Paul George, without Kawhi Leonard, still took the Warriors to 6 games last year in the first round of the playoffs. So I agree. I think Doc Rivers needs to absolutely needs to get canned, and he's actually he's my putts, and I'm going to go into it there when we get to that segment. So now let's preview the Western Conference Finals. So just because of some issues on Thursday, we already have Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals in the books. Lakers won 126-114. So knowing that the Lakers have a 1-0 lead now, boys, what is your series prediction for the Western Conference Finals?
Oh, it hasn't changed at all since Game 1. I'm going Nuggets in 7, baby.
Nuggets in 7, okay.
Yes, because I like what the Nuggets have shown through 2 series, coming back 3-1. They've shown their mettle. They've shown that even when the chips are down, they're going to battle their asses off and win. Whereas LeBron and the Lakers really haven't had to do that because they really haven't had that like tough opponent. I mean, the first round they played the Trailblazers and they get that one, but I mean, not a lot of people are expecting the Trailblazers to win that series. They were kind of like the underdog everyone was rooting for, but they were really no match for the Lakers. So, they get the win there. And then this last series, it was kind of the same thing. So they're really getting their first tough test of the playoffs, in my opinion, in the Nuggets. And, LeBron hasn't been himself. I made that point like all playoffs. Anthony Davis is basically carrying this team right now. And if it's going to be like that, then I'm going with the Nuggets, who have shown like, Jamal Murray can ball out. Jokic will get his, and they have the bench to back it up as well. Where the Lakers have some key players, but it's not like a full bench like they do. And I don't know. I just like the Nuggets as a team more than just betting on Anthony Davis balling out and LeBron, putting some points up and hoping Dwight Howard or Rajon Rondo turns back the clock for a night or something like that. So I'm going with Nuggets in 7.
Lakers in 7. One key piece of it is that up until now, Jokic really hasn't had anybody to go up against him on both sides of the court. That can be argued. I mean, we were talking about it. I think we were talking about it earlier with the Clippers. It was like, what's their weakness? It's their front court, right? What's the strength of this Lakers team? It's their front court. Yes, you're going to have like Jamal Murray is probably going to ball out. You're going to have those high intensity games. But I still think that Rajon Rondo is a pretty good defender. I think that the bald eagle is going to ball out. I think that just that like the backcourt for the Lakers is feisty enough to disrupt the Jamal Murray, and then having either LeBron James or Anthony Davis have to go up against Jokic. Then that's where I see the edge, because Jokic doesn't have and hasn't had really an offensive threat he has had to go up against in these playoffs. He's had some defensive threats he had to go up against, like Rudy Gobert, and like Zubac can play defensively well. Montrezl Harrell can play defensively well, but they're not volume scorers, and I think that's where the Lakers have the edge here.
I'm going to go Lakers in 6. I just think that the Lakers have the ability to kind of completely overwhelm the Nuggets in a lot of different ways. I mean, both of these teams in Game 1, and this was my prediction. It was going to be my prediction once the Clippers lost, was going to be Lakers in 6. Both of these teams took 83 shots exactly and 26 three-pointers exactly. The difference was that the Nuggets only made 9 three-pointers and 41 total shots. The Lakers made 11 three-pointers and 44 total shots. Anthony Davis, 37 points, 10 rebounds, compared to Jokic, 21.6 rebounds. But the most interesting thing about that entire Game 1 that I think doesn't get talked about is going to be Anthony Davis's perimeter defense. What did Jokic do so well against the Clippers? He hit threes. In that game one, he didn't have a single three-point attempt. So if that's how this series works, or if it gets to a point where Jokic is going to have to toss up threes just to stay relevant into the game, Lakers win. Lakers win easy. They've got more big men who can out-rebound the Nuggets. I think they pass the ball really well. So I'm going to go Lakers in 6 there with my prediction. Mitch, you look like you're about to bust a nut.
Ohio State's football Twitter came out, and it's the video of Step Brothers where Will Ferrell's burying John Riley, and Will Ferrell's Ohio State and John Riley's Nebraska.
Nebraska shared that exact same video, and they went the last few weeks. Did we just become best friends? Like Nebraska, Ohio State. Did we just become best friends? Oh yeah, and then it's them like fucking just destroying each other. It's like week 1, and I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's how it's going to be. So now let's move.
Schedule came out, by the way.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on our late episode. The Big Ten obviously is back. We're excited about that, and we're going to cover it on our next light episode, so that way we can do about 45 minutes to just focus on the Big Ten. So let's move on to our what's list here. So, Skylar, you had the what's list, correct?
Yes, what's list. It is, okay, so you have 6 positions on a basketball team. You have your starting 5 and then your 6th man. I asked you guys to either give me or to build a team or give me the best guys at each position. And then you get a 6th man in order to round that out in whatever way you'd like. Since I asked the question, Brady, you go first.
All right, so this one was pretty easy for me, actually. So point guard, Steph, easy. Can literally do it all. I think is a great momentum builder and is a backbreaker. Shooting guard, Devin Booker. This was tough for me because I was either going to put up Devin Booker or I was going to put up Jimmy Butler. But I felt like the back half of my court was good enough defensively that I could afford to go with the high-volume scorer. So I went with Devin Booker. Small forward, Kawhi. Kawhi, he can silently put up 27 points, several steals and several blocks a game. He can do it all. Power forward, easy. 2-time MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Don't know if that's, really that difficult of a pick, especially because with a lot of these guys, like Kawhi could play small or power forward. Giannis could play small, power, or center. My center, who can also play power forward, just because of how dominant he's been in the playoffs so far, Bam Adebayo. I think Bam Adebayo is proving to be the best center in the NBA. And I love the kid so much. And then my 6th man, just because he can literally do it all, he's just built different, LeBron James. Because I could put him at any position on the court and he could dominate. So that's my 5 with the 6.
No, he wouldn't.
Oh, fuck off, Mitch. Yeah, you would.
No, you would throw a temper tantrum that he's the 6th man and not starting.
Who gives a fuck? I can sub him in when the fuck I want. This is my team. I've got LeBron by the short hairs here. This is my team.
Oh, also, Mitch, your turn. Sorry.
You're fine. So, honestly, this is kind of funny as hell. So, I made my list, I think shortly after our last real episode. And my picks were the exact same picks as the NBA, all NBA first team. And I left my off. It's funny. Point guard, I got Luka. I think he's a rising star. We've seen, the past 2 years, he's been dominant. I thought about putting Steph there, but I compared Luka's year this year to Steph's last full year, and Luka just put up more points. Obviously, Steph's a fucking sniper, but I just like Luka overall, so I had to put him there. James Harden, my shooting guard. You just give him the ball and he'll score you points. Out of respect, I'll put LeBron at small forward. He's just built different.
He's just built different.
Power forward, I got to give it to the 2-time MVP and who's hopefully staying in Milwaukee, it seems like, Giannis. I just think he's power forwards, probably the best spot for him. And then I got to give it to Anthony Davis as my center. Bam Adebayo's, on his way. But right now I think Anthony Davis is more well-rounded. And, he's pretty good with the 3, so I'll put him there. And he's got great defense. And then my 6th man, there was a lot of good choices, but there is one kid who's kind of shown throughout this playoffs, like, if you need him to make a play, he'll do it. And I got to go with the hometown kid and Tyler Hero. I mean, whenever
fuck off, Mitch.
What are you talking about? Whenever the Heat needed a three, he's like, bam, there you go. Bam, there you go. You don't want that as your sixth man?
No, I want a sixth man who can fit into anywhere on the fucking roster. I want a sixth man who if Steph goes down or if Giannis goes down, that I got a guy that I could fill in there. That's my sixth man. Tyler Hero is don't get me wrong, he's a good player. But if you're going to run through a plethora of players that you have not mentioned, that you're going to throw Tyler Hero on top of all of them,
Kawhi,
I think is ridiculous. Kawhi, Jimmy Butler, Malcolm Brogdon, Derrick Rose,
Jason Tatum, Jaylen
Brown, Kemba.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of players.
There's so many fucking
so many more clutch than Tyler Hero.
Fucking Dame Lillard, fucking CJ McCollum,
Draymond Green, Klay
Thompson,
Steph Green, Steph Curry.
I'm not putting Draymond Green as my sixth man.
Oh, okay. So you need somebody who can step in and hit three. Okay, so Steph, Clay, Dame, CJ, Kemba.
Oh, yeah, Clay with that torn ACL is going to come in and hit my three.
Bro, he's fully healthy. He could have played in the bubble. They said that. Fucking all of those guys you could have named, and you went with the hometown hero. I appreciate you picking the hometown hero, but again, Mitch,
well, I'm not gonna.
Were you thinking?
I'm not gonna disrespect guys like that. Tyler Hero right now fits the six-man role perfectly. He would be my.
Yeah, but
when you
have
Steve
Kerr to pick another person to be in the sixth man that normally would be in the starting lineup, you pick a guy that's normally in the starting lineup. I'm sorry.
I like my team.
Okay, that's all that matters, right? But we're gonna give you shit for it.
Your team sucks, and I fucking hate you, Skyler.
My team would be your team.
Me and Brady have this cousin telepathy going on because a lot of our picks are similar. Running my point, Steph Curry, probably one of the best point guards that's ever played, just from volume, from like being a fucking sniper.
Big City Snipes, baby. Big City Snipes.
Single-handedly turning around that Warriors franchise. I mean, with some help from Clay and Draymond, but let's all be honest. It started with Steph. Mm-hmm. Running my two, the guy that Brady said could also be there, Jimmy Butler. Just defensively, if I'm building a team, I'm going defense first because I think that's harder that is a little bit harder to gain, and you can work on the shooting, you can work on the offense. We can get that later. Jimmy Butler doesn't shoot a lot of threes, but he's hitting like half of them. I'll take it. Three, just like Brady, Kawhi. We're putting Kawhi in at that small forward because one of the best defenders in basketball has become a much better just shooter all around. He's the silent assassin to go with Steph's baby-faced assassin. We got a lot of assassins on this team. With a 4, two-time MVP, Giannis.
He's the ass assassin.
He's the ass assassin. He's, again, probably one of the most dominant young players in the league. Probably the most dominant player in the league, period, no matter age. Definitely deserved that MVP. He was more valuable we saw what happens when he's not on the court for the Bucks. So yeah, definitely goes to him. 5, Anthony Davis. He's been balling out since he's been in the league, period. In my mind, probably the best center, unless Giannis is at the center, then maybe Giannis. He's quick for a big man. He can shoot the 3. He's a good defender. Lakers are in good hands when LeBron leaves in 12 years. And then at the 6, I can't have a list without a Boston Celtic, Jason Tatum. The only reason I didn't put LeBron there is because LeBron's old. Jason Tatum, it fits the mold fits the mold. He can play anywhere from the 2 to the 4. He shows he's becoming much better defensively. He has always been a pretty good shooter. I mean, this year he's got off. I'm kind of upset that he wasn't in consideration for most improved, but I also understand because I didn't want Luka to be most improved, so it's fine. I'm excited to see what the Celtics are like the next couple of years with him and Jaylen Brown at the helm. So,
all right. So then that's our what's list. On the next one that I get to pick, we are going to talk about the NBA as well. So I am going to ask the boys to pick from the eliminated playoff teams. Skylar can't pick the Celtics if by then they're eliminated. Me and Mitch cannot pick the Bucks. So you're going to pick one of the eliminated playoff teams as to who you would want to be the head coach for in order to try to win a championship. So you could go Trailblazers, you could go Clippers, you could go Magic, you could go whatever the fuck you want. Pick them. Just be able to rationalize it. And as a coach, what kind of moves would you make in order to have your team win a championship? So that's our next what's list. Skylar.
Do we have GM capabilities? Are we allowed to make trades and sign players that we wish?
Yeah, do whatever the fuck you want.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be feasible though. You can't be like, I'm gonna trade I'm gonna trade Evan Fournier for Giannis, and I'm gonna get Dame Lillard, and I'm gonna get like you can't do like
I'm gonna get
NBA
90s
force trades.
I'm gonna get 90s Jordan and Pippen.
Yeah. Early 2000s Kobe will be good.
Yeah.
Can we do coaches as well? Make coach like
no, you are the coach.
No, you are the coach.
Oh, that's
You're
right.
the coach, GM, whatever you want. So
the Belichick.
Yes.
So now let's move on to week 1 of the NFL season. It's happened. It was here. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. We had our pick'em.
Left in the night.
Orgasmic.
Yes. We had our pick'em and our week 1 pick'em. Winner scoring 14 points, a 13-3 record goes to Mr. Skylar Stefanski. Me and Mitch both had 10 points. We went 10-6. Skylar has 14 points because he got his upset correct in picking the Jacksonville Jaguars to beat the Indianapolis Colts. So what are just some games, some moments, some things that stood out from you guys in week 1 of the NFL season?
First, I think the big one, it's got to be the Cardinals upsetting the 49ers. In like my schedule prediction for the Cardinals, I had them making the upset later in the season, but damn, I did not expect them to do it week 1. They really impressed me, especially DeAndre Hopkins, the type of chemistry he had with Kyler Murray right away to rattle off almost 200 fucking yards through the air.
He set a career high with 14 catches, 151 yards.
Yeah, and that's crazy. And I think the crazier part I don't think is getting talked about enough is how well the Cardinals defense played to shut down the running game to make Jimmy G be, the guy to win them the game. And I was just impressed with the Cardinals game plan. And, I think they have arrived early in my expectations. I thought they would get here later in the season, but damn, they're saying this is our season now. We're going to start week 1. So I think the Cardinals stood out to me the most.
Well, it helps when you can throw to DeAndre Hopkins 16 times in one game and he catches.
And when George Kittle gets hurt.
And Isaiah Simmons looked like a rookie in that game. He looked like a rookie in that game.
But I completely agree with you, Mitch. If you look at it, first downs, 29 Arizona, 18 San Francisco.
Yeah, no, it was
third downs. 7 of 14 for the Cardinals, 2 of 11 for the 49ers. Arizona outrushed the Cardinals 180 to 123. Total plays, 78 for Arizona, 61 for the Niners. And Arizona, even with that air raid offense, so a big fuck you to Rex Ryan, held time of possession by almost 3 minutes over the Cardinals. That was a great game.
No, it was Cardinals. Arizona played great in that game, and they ran the ball really well, getting Kenyon Drake in there. I think
Kenyon Drake ran the ball really well. Kyler Murray ran the ball fantastic. He had 90 yards rushing.
Can we all agree that Kyler Murray looks like a cartoon character when he's running around because the guy is so tiny and his legs are so tiny? It's literally like.
Oh yeah, I sing the Benny Hill song in my head when I see him run.
Like looks like a cartoon character when he's running around because his head is so big and his legs are so tiny and he's like I'm expecting a saxophone to start playing when he starts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, the dude is balling out. The dude is absolutely balling out, and this shouldn't have been as surprising because the Cardinals did play the Niners very well in both weeks that they played them in last year. Mitch, Skylar, what's something that stands out for you? Because Mitch,
well, not just the Cardinals. How many teams we kind of dismissed and said that they weren't going to be playing well, and then they kind of balled out. Washington, for example, 8 sacks. 8 sacks. I mean, we all kind of knew that without Lane Johnson, without Marcus Peters in that starting lineup, that it would. Well, I mean, Marcus Peters was still there. That is
Dylan Brooks. Or no, wait, who was the guard that they lost?
Well, Brooks, right?
Was it Brooks?
Brandon
Well,
Brooks?
Yeah, there you go.
But Lane Johnson, like Marcus Peters was playing that guard position, and Lane
Jason
Johnson
Peters?
was out for the game.
Yeah.
Jason Peters,
Yeah,
sorry, not
you're fine.
Marcus Peters. That like we didn't expect 8 sacks, so I think we all agree that the Washington defensive line was going to be good. I don't think we all thought it was going to be this good. The defense as a whole looked pretty good against that Philadelphia offense. It helps when Philadelphia just starts to try to throw a touchdown every pass. Another team I'm thinking about, Los Angeles, the Rams. Their defense played really good. I think we were all kind of expecting Jalen Ramsey to go back to Jaguars form like from last season.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually went closer to 2017 Jalen Ramsey that we saw against one of the best wide receiver corps in the NFL. He shut
Dallas
down
to 3 second-half points.
Yeah, that Rams defense looks really good, and the offensive line held up pretty well. Again, we'll see what happens when they have to play like the Niners or the Chargers or any of those teams, and see how that works for them when they have to play one of the Bosa brothers, or I think they have to play Washington later in the year too.
Yeah.
Where they have to play up against some better defensive lines. But I mean, their offensive line held up well, and they ran play action, I think, 40% of the time, which always helps. And then my Patriots, I gotta throw it in there. Cam Newton threw for 175 yards, but he also rushed for 75. I'm cautiously optimistic. I still think that this weekend's gonna go a little bit differently, most likely. And then last thing, let Russ cook, and Aaron Rodgers is my favorite for the MVP now.
Fair. So the game that I want to point out is Detroit versus Chicago. So Detroit had themselves so first the massive debacle with, was it Jamie Collins who got ejected?
Yeah, for whatever the fuck he did.
For lowering his head and kind of like bouncing it into the ref. It looked like he was trying to show the ref something. But if there's one thing that they teach you in all sports, it's don't fucking touch the referee. And he did. He was a dipshit. He did. And people can call the ref soft, but the rule is you don't touch the referee.
Touch the referee. Yeah.
So he got ejected. But Detroit took a 6-23 lead with 3 minutes and 19 seconds left in the third quarter. At one point, they had a 98.3% chance to win the game against Chicago. And after the 6-23 lead, they give up 21 unanswered points. But Detroit, to me, lost this game way before that moment. And the reason is that Matt Patricia is no longer coaching to win games. He's coaching to try not to lose them. Detroit in that first half, I'm going to walk you through their scoring drives. First scoring drive, they march the ball all the way down to the Chicago 9-yard line, kick a field goal. So, hey, what's a running theme when Detroit loses games to NFC North opponents?
They kick
field goals instead of attempting to go for the touchdown. So that was the first one, right? Second one, they march the field all the way down to the Chicago 14, kick a field goal, right? Third one, they march the field all the way down to the Chicago 26 on 4th and 3, and they kick a field goal, right? Then, in the fourth quarter, all right, they march the field down to the Chicago 37. It's 4th and 12. They attempt a 55-yard field goal on top 23-13 that, had they made it, would not have changed anything in the game. Chicago still would have had to score 2 touchdowns. But Matt Patricia's thought process was this: if I kick a field goal and we make it, and then we give up 2 touchdowns, like it seems like he was expecting that they would, all we have to do is kick a field goal to win the game. So instead of attempting to aggressively play call a game, the way that we see New England do it, the way that we see successful teams do it, for fuck's sake, Green Bay was down 3-7, marched the field down to the 99 or to the 1 yard line of Minnesota, tried to go for a touchdown, didn't work, right? But it was an aggressive play call. Eventually it worked out. We got a safety, we got a field goal, we took the lead, never looked back after that. Eventually it worked out. But you have to have some aggression. When you have multiple drives inside the Chicago red zone and you're not even attempting to go for it on like 4th and 3, makes no sense, and you don't deserve to win the game. And sure, you could blame the refs for Jamie Collins getting ejected. You could blame DeAndre Swift for dropping the touchdown. All fair points. All fair points. But at some point, Detroit, you have to realize that your head coach is 9-24-1 and is coaching not to lose rather than coaching to win. And that's what was really disappointing to watch in that game against Chicago.
But don't mince words, Brady. He's not coaching not to lose. He's coaching for his job.
If he was coaching for his job, he'd show a little bit of aggression. Like if he's coaching not to lose for the sake of not losing, that's one thing. If he's coaching to save his job, he would show a little bit of aggression. Like he would show a little bit of want to go and win a fucking football game.
You think, but maybe this is what he thinks is like the best option for him to keep his job is just trying to score at least something if it's a field goal each play or something like that.
If that's what he thinks, then he's a fucking idiot who doesn't deserve to be a head coach in the NFL.
Well, I think we all agree that.
I could have told you that a long time ago.
So it's absolutely ridiculous. The other game that we have to point out, and I'm surprised Skylar hadn't talked about it yet, Gardner Minshew and the Jacksonville Jaguars pull off
I forgot about that one.
upset against the Indianapolis Colts. Now, there's a few things. Gardner Minshew goes 19 of 20, 173 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Back up to the backup halfback. Robinson goes for just under about 4 yards a carry. They were great across the field. Now, Indianapolis had their issues, right? So Marlon Mack went down. And Phillip Rivers had to attempt 46 passes. And when it's Phillip Rivers attempting 46 passes, he inevitably throws 2 interceptions. Now, one of them was completely his fault. The other one was a tipped pass. So it is what it is. But Jacksonville really kept that game ultra competitive. It was 7-7. The Colts were then on top 14-7. Jacksonville scores. Colts then go into the half up top 17-14. Jacksonville comes out in the second half, kicks a field goal. The Colts are up 20-17 with about 9 minutes left in the game. Jacksonville rattles off a touchdown and a field goal to put the game away. At one point, Indianapolis had an 85% chance of a 90% chance of winning the game, and Jacksonville still came back. Is it time to maybe take Gardner Minshew a little bit seriously? I mean, with the hodgepodge of a team that they have, to go 19 of 20 in that game. Now, granted, it's not against a premier Colts defense, but to go 19 of 20 in that game and also add 20 rushing yards, quarterback rating of 142.3. He was sacked 4 times. Man, Jacksonville may have something to say. It doesn't look like Jacksonville is tanking the way that we all really expected them to tank.
But this is the question, is Jacksonville trying to tank and Minshew's just tank-proof? Like, is that because at this point, is it like Gardner Minshew has played 13 starts and he has won 7 of them. I think if you told anybody that a guy that was a 6th round draft pick from Washington State takes Jacksonville and wins 7 out of 13 games of his first 13 games, people will tell you that you're fucking crazy. This guy, he's done great. I think that they need to take a serious look and think that Gardner Minshew's in their future.
Let's also just look at the fact that Jacksonville, because they're such a bad team, kind of has a cakewalk of a schedule here. They've got the Titans, which should be a tough game on Sunday. And then they've got the Dolphins, the Bengals, a Texans team that looks terrible, the Lions, the Chargers, who seem really wish-washy, the Texans again, before they get into a tough part of the schedule against Green Bay and Pittsburgh. So Jacksonville maybe has a shot at actually doing something interesting there. And Indianapolis looks a lot worse than I think most people, including myself, expected them to. Now, how much of that is injury, and how much of that is actual bad play?
And I'm going to put a caveat into all of this. It's
yeah, but you also
guys.
told us Jacksonville would go 0-16, so why don't you just shut the fuck up a little bit?
I'm going to put a caveat on it, and Mitch hates me saying this. It's week 1. These guys had no preseason games. They weren't running a lot of live reps. This was their first live action since last year. I'm expecting teams like Indianapolis, teams like Philadelphia, teams that we all kind of looked at and went, what's happening? Teams like the Bengals, to get their feet underneath them and start playing better. I mean, we already saw at the Thursday night matchup that Cleveland and Cincinnati looked a lot better than they did in their first week matchup. So just, again, it's week 1. We'll see what happens.
No, I totally agree with you. I was going to say that, it's only week 1. That's why I can't buy into the Jaguars right now. Now, if they do the same thing against the Tennessee Titans, then yeah, I'll buy more into Minshew mania then.
It's going to be a lot easier with A.J. Brown out.
True.
And C.J. Henderson looks like he was worth that eighth overall pick in that game.
Did you guys hear what Minshew said about James Robinson?
No.
They asked, the reporters asked about him, and then Minshew's like, all I thought about was who the fuck is that guy?
Gardner Minshew is my favorite human being on earth.
Well, it's tough when you trade everybody. You don't know who undrafted rookie from whatever backwater college is from.
It's the same as when they asked Joe Thomas, "Can you name all the starting quarterbacks you played with?" And he's like, I'd get in the huddle and just be like, "Who the fuck is this guy now?" You just didn't even know. So now let's move on to a new segment here before we do our week 2 pick'em. The new segment is we're gonna call it Dead On or Dead Wrong. So one of us is gonna make a statement based off of the last sports week, and we're gonna see if the team here either agrees with it or disagrees with it. So my statement, dead on, the Arizona Cardinals with their week 1 win against the San Francisco 49ers and the extra playoff spot have now proven that they will make the playoffs. I'm buying into the week 1 overhype train.
I think as of week 1, I think it is dead on given what they've shown us. They went against the NFC champion of last year. They showed that they definitely have the offense to compete with the other teams. They showed that they might not have the Pittsburgh Steelers or the 85 Bears defense, but they have a defense that, will play well and show up. And, with all of it together and Kyler Murray being an ascending guy and, that wide receiver core. And I think they definitely are a playoff team, especially with the added spot this year?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, with the added spot, I definitely think they can make it as of week 1.
I already thought that they were the best team to go worst Super Bowl chances this year, and what they showed week 1 proved that. I still think Isaiah Simmons needs to play some more football to shore up the middle of that defense. But they played really well against we all agree is the top of the NFC. It helps when George Kittle's not there and they don't have most of their starting wide receivers and they can't run the fucking ball. But again, I think Arizona, I already had them as the 8th seed. So I think with this that they can push through and take down somebody that's at the bottom of that top tier NFC.
All right. So cool. Yeah, I agree completely. I think Arizona. Again, I think the NFC kind of suffers from it's very top loaded. So a lot of the teams that we thought maybe could be wild card playoff teams, Dallas, Philadelphia, Minnesota,
the Rams.
Hell yeah, even the Rams, teams like that didn't look very good. Hell, even Tampa Bay didn't look very good week 1. So that does open up the possibility with that extra playoff spot of a team like Arizona very easily sliding in there. And because they finished last in their division last year, they have a little bit of an easier schedule than some other teams do in the NFL. So, who wants to go next with their statement?
I have mine ready.
Yeah, Scott,
So,
I gotta think of one.
dead on, dead wrong. Big Ten, top to bottom, is the best conference in sports. I'm going to go dead on. I'm going to say that consistently across the major sports, basketball, football, baseball. Baseball's a little iffy sometimes. Volleyball, track and field even. Big Ten players, Big Ten teams are constantly in positions for championships. The thing that I can look at is in football, Big Ten's, in my mind, top to bottom is probably one of the better football conferences. The only one that could really go against us is the SEC. Everywhere else, the bottom of their conferences are the bottom of their conferences. I'm thinking about the Big 12. I'm thinking about the ACC. I'm thinking about the Pac-12 is up there, but still the worst teams in the Pac-12 are some pretty bad teams. Basketball, I think that the ACC is probably the only team better than the Big Ten in basketball. Again, top to bottom. We're looking at some of those Big Ten teams that are just really good and consistently make the tourney. I think we had 8 or 9 teams in position to make the tourney last year. I'm thinking like it's not just Michigan State anymore. It's Michigan State, Wisconsin, Iowa, Purdue. These are teams that are consistently mentioned in being Sweet 16 teams that can move forward. Baseball, I know Nebraska, Indiana, Ohio State, Michigan all have really good baseball teams and are consistently making the tourney, if not the World Series, but at least the super regionals. Volleyball, Nebraska, Penn State, Wisconsin, Maryland, Minnesota, again, just top tier teams that are consistently making the tourney and competing for championships. I'm going to say dead on. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think dead on, you're right. I think top to bottom, I think the Big Ten is pretty good. When you compare it to the SEC, where I think, in my opinion, it's more top-heavy. There's a couple of good teams, and the rest is complete shit. And the ACC is just Clemson. The Pac-12 pretty much is a non-factor. And then the Big 12, has a couple good teams as well. But I think, as shown last year in the Big Ten, a team like Illinois, who's a bottom dweller, can beat a Wisconsin or, so on and so forth, where it's really is any given Sunday kind of feel. So I totally agree with you that the Big Ten definitely is the most well-rounded and best conference.
Yeah, I mean, I think since you posed the question as well-rounded, I'll say dead on. I don't think that they're the best conference at maybe any one sport specifically, with the exception of like volleyball. Mm-hmm. Because we talk football, right? The Big Ten has only been in the college football playoff, I think, 3 of the 7 years it's existed.
Yeah, no.
We talk basketball, and the Big Ten hasn't won a championship since, I think, the year 2000 or some shit like that.
When Michigan State won, yeah.
Should have been 2015.
Should have been 2015. But at the same time, if you talk about the Final Four in recent years, Michigan, Michigan State, Wisconsin, and Ohio State, and Purdue, and all those teams, Illinois, have all been there. So I would agree with you on that. Baseball, the Big Ten doesn't have great baseball because not all schools have a baseball team. Volleyball, I completely agree with you with. I think volleyball for the Big Ten is absolutely dominant.
Cross country,
yeah, exactly. So I would say maybe across all sports, yes, but I think the Big Ten kind of suffers from that jack of all trades, master of none type thing. Where
it's true.
Unlike Kentucky, who is only good at SEC basketball, or Clemson, who is only good at ACC football, you can get teams like Wisconsin who make a bowl game and the tourney every year, or Michigan State does it, or Ohio State does it, or Michigan does it, or like stuff like that. While with football, like you talk the SEC and it's Alabama and it's LSU and it's Auburn and it's Georgia, and then you talk basketball and it's Kentucky and 50 feet of crap. And then you talk ACC and it's Clemson and 50 feet of crap for football. And then for basketball, it's Duke and North Carolina and 50 feet of crap. And then, granted, the American Conference doesn't even exist in basketball because it's still the Big East and stuff. But there's, there's crossovers like that. So, yeah, I mean, I would probably agree with that statement just because you had said well-rounded. I think,
Yeah.
I think if you had said the Big Ten is the best conference at all sports, I'd completely agree with you. But
No, it's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Little Mitchy Witchy, what's yours?
I might get pissed at this one, but we'll see. Dead on or dead wrong? Tom Brady was a product of Bill Belichick.
Well, what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go last.
I'd say dead wrong.
And we can preface this was as of week 1.
I think that you could argue that Tom Brady was a product of Bill Belichick and Bill Belichick was a product of Tom Brady. I think you could argue that easily both ways. Because if you look at the week 1 quarterback play for New England, I mean, it wasn't great. Like, honestly, it wasn't great. Cam Newton, 15 of 19, 155 yards. Not fantastic quarterback play. Now, granted, he ran the ball 15 times for 175. You couldn't do that with Tom at your quarterback. But I think that both of them reaped benefits from their relationship. The issue is that Bill Belichick can coach for 30 more years if he wants to. Tom Brady can't play for 30 more years if he wants to. I think that it's easy to talk about a possible decline in Tom Brady and say that it's Bill Belichick, when in reality, it's honestly just that Tom Brady is getting up there. We saw the same thing with Peyton Manning. Hell, we saw the same thing with Eli Manning. We saw the same thing with Brett Favre. We see the thing with all quarterbacks. Like, they're going to reach an age where eventually they're not going to be able to play the same way that they used to. And I think that it's shitty to fault Tom Brady or to try to hit his reputation for that because he's now playing maybe not fantastic in Tampa than in New England. So I would say dead wrong because I think they're both a product of each other.
I'm going to say – this is a hard one. I'm going to say dead on for the first 3 Super Bowls and dead wrong for the last 3. Because I will tell you, Bill Belichick's offense is not nearly as good if Tom Brady is not running it in those first 3 Super Bowls. Tom Brady is not nearly as good if he doesn't have the systemic planning that Bill Belichick brings to a team in those first 3 Super Bowls. And then later, Tom Brady has run the offense for 15 plus years that he knows it like the back of his hand. I think that right now, because he's learning a new system, which is tough, no matter who the quarterback is, it's bad. I will say that the pick 6 was definitely his fault, and Bruce Arians was right to call him out on that because that was a bad throw. Mm-hmm. The other one that was a miscommunication between Evans and Brady. From what I saw of Brady playing, besides those 2 interceptions, he was throwing the ball downfield. He was hitting his targets. I'm sure he wants that game back. I'm sure he would make different decisions. I think that Brady started out as a system quarterback and now is the greatest quarterback of all time. So
I think it's dead on for the reasons that, I think Tom Brady is more of a product of Bill Belichick just because Bill Belichick has shown that whatever quarterback you give him, he'll find success. We saw it with Matt Castle. We saw it with Brissett. We saw it with Jimmy G. And then even though Cam Newton didn't light it up and was like the MVP, he still was effective enough to get the win, So I feel like he could put any quarterback. Brandon Weeden could be the quarterback of the Patriots and they could win a Super Bowl and that kind of stuff. I have that.
No. See, I will fight back with you on that. I think Brandon Weeden could be the quarterback of the Patriots, and they could make the playoffs.
They won.
Okay. Let's go playoffs. Okay.
Once you get into the playoffs, that is a completely different monster than a regular season.
But you get what I'm saying. He could take Brandon Weeden, and they could get the playoffs. Where Tom Brady, yes, he's starting to get aged and stuff. I mean, the things like the last 3 games that Tom Brady's been in, he's thrown a pick 6 3 straight times. Mm-hmm. Something like that, and I don't know. He just didn't look like Tom Brady. I mean, what Skyler just said, that pick 6 was on him, and that's not a Tom Brady kind of thing. He gets lauded for how cold and calculated he is, and how his mental game is basically what makes him a great quarterback. And for him to make like silly mistakes like that, and when he's on a team where he has Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and he's got Gronk back and all the weapons he could ever ask for. It's just, I don't know. And Bruce Arians, it's not like he's a sump of a coach. He's a, offensive guy. And Arians said, like, they're going to incorporate stuff that Brady wants. So it's not like it's a totally new playbook that Brady doesn't know what the fuck he's looking at. So
no, but I mean, at the same time, it is a totally different playbook because
and it's also a completely different mentality too. Bruce Arians isn't going to do the 6-yard crossing routes and the slants through the middle using small ball receivers.
He also doesn't want to run the ball at all.
No,
at all. He hates running the ball.
And it's been proven that every time Brady has won a Super Bowl, it's because he's had a running back that's able to run the ball.
Yeah.
Every single time.
I mean, I think that there's merits to both points. Don't get me wrong. I also think it's week 1 of the season.
That's why I preface it. I said,
yeah, no, I know.
It's week 1.
I know. But it's like, let's not pretend that Tom Brady didn't have struggles in New England also. I mean, go back to the AFC Championship game against Denver, right? He looked like dog shit in that game. The whole team looked like dog shit. Go back to the last playoff game he was in with the Patriots. He kind of looked like dog shit. I think that it's easy to say he's got all these weapons and everything, but at the same time, they were playing the Saints, who are a damn good football team in the regular season, and stuff like that. I mean, it was one game.
It was still even close in the fourth quarter, and that was more because of Brady than in spite of him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's one game. I think what has to be seen is how. If Cam Newton puts up Tom Brady-esque numbers this year, I think we could revisit this debate. But again, I mean, 20 total attempts, 15 completions is good, but he ran the ball 15 times, and it was against the measly fucking Dolphins. So
true, but the biggest knack on Cam has been he's never accurate, and look what the kind of completion, per attempts he put up.
I mean,
if he's able to translate that every week and have that kind of, maybe not that like that, but at least close to, that's fucking huge when nobody could do it.
I mean, 15 of 19 for a $155 is less than 10 yards an attempt. Less than 10 yards a completion also.
I'm not saying the yards, but I'm just saying the completion to attempts. If he's able to translate that and get 300, 400, 250, like a game, that's huge.
I mean, the longest total catch was 25 yards in that game for Cam Newton. All right, the next longest was 16 to Edelman. I don't know. I don't think that Cam Newton obviously isn't Tom Brady. They're built completely different.
They're just built different.
They're just built different. So, all right. So now we got to move on to our week 2 picks. Now, we were not able to get an episode out on Thursday, but we already had our picks. Skylar and Mitch picked Cincinnati, and they got it wrong. And I picked Cleveland, and I got it right. So with that being said, week 2 matchups, the Sunday game, we have Detroit at Green Bay. Green Bay is favored by 6.5. I am going to pick the Green Bay Packers. Detroit is expected to be down both of their starting corners. Green Bay is expected to get a little bit of help back on that offensive line. And Detroit's offensive line looks bad. So I'm going to say Green Bay wins that game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Green Bay. Kenny Galladay's not there. He's their number 1 wide receiver. He's an ascending star, if not a star already. So that really helps. Desmond Trufant's not going to play, so they're down their second best corner. And Jeff Okudah's making his first appearance. And even though he's the first corner,
hurt.
Yeah, I heard Jeff Okudah's going to make his first appearance. So I think they'll have their way with them just because the Lions' defense is shit. And the Lions' offense could give us fits just because Marvin Jones Jr. is going to play, and he's had our number for years. And that worries me a little bit. But I think overall the Packers are going to have a similar game against the Lions that they did against the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also a little worried because Adrian Peterson is coming back to Lambeau, and he always seems to play really good in Lambeau. So,
well, yeah, if he's going to do 19 yards his first carry as a Lion, what is he going to do in Lambeau?
Right. Skylar, who are you picking?
I'm going to go with Green Bay. I'm going to go with Green Bay, just seeing what Aaron Rodgers was able to do last week. Granted, he was picking apart the rookies on that Minnesota defensive backfield. I think that he's not going to be able to have as much of a way with Detroit, but I still think he's going to have plenty of time to throw. I think that Vontaze Scalding is going to show up pretty well. I think that Devontae Adams is still worthy of the namesake for my fantasy team. I think that the wide receivers are going to be good. I do think that the Packers defense needs to play a little bit better.
Well, I mean, again, I would say that if you actually had watched the Packer game,
it was much
watch it.
That it was trash minutes.
But I'm still saying that like that could be a sign for concern.
Alexander had a sack, a safety, and a pick.
It was like heading into the fourth quarter, Cousins was like 6 of 9 for 66 yards or something.
Again, and I'm saying Matt Stafford's a better quarterback. So
all right.
That's
now when I break his back again.
Oh.
Like Bang.
God, what's wrong with you?
I was born in the darkness.
I was born in the frozen tundra.
All right, so Baltimore at Houston. I think this is a really easy pick. Baltimore wins that game absolutely hands down. Houston's defense looked trash. Baltimore has too many weapons on offense. Baltimore wins absolutely.
Yeah, I think, me and Brady were talking about this when we watched, Chiefs-Texans. I mean, they got trashed, and next is Baltimore, which it's going to be the same, thing.
Like Nebraska's schedule.
Especially with J.K. Dobbins coming on the scene week 1, and I expect him to do the same thing. So, yeah, Ravens are going to blow them out easily.
I have to give it to Baltimore, too. I think that they're utilizing some good targets. Lamar Jackson was able to spread the ball around, get it to his tight end, so you had a pretty big day. I think Mark Ingram's probably going to play a little bit bigger of a role this time than he did last time.
Is that a fucking pterodactyl?
I have no idea. It's right here, though. But Mark Ingram, I think, is going to have a little bit bigger of a day. I think that Lamar Jackson's probably going to rush a little bit more. I like they're going to get to the outside, because we saw what Clyde Edwards-Helaire was able to do against them. I think the running game is definitely going to win the game for this team.
Yeah, so then week 4, the Giants at the Bears. Now, even though the Giants play the Bears super competitive when they do, I think Chicago wins this. With how bad the Giants' offensive line looked week 1 against the Steelers, the fact that Saquon had, I think, 6 total rushing yards on, I think it was like 15 attempts or something. I don't think this is close. I think that the Bears start the season out 2-0.
Yeah, I think that the Bears are definitely going to get the win against the Giants. Saquon looked like trash week 1. And if he's going to continue to play like that, the Giants basically have no team, in my opinion. And Mitchell Trubisky showed that he can be a decent quarterback or something like that. I don't know.
It's only week 1.
And it's also against the Lions.
But the Bears have a good defense. We've said that time and time again, and I'm sure we'll say it all season. And they match up favorably against the Giants offense. And I'm sure Mitchell Trubisky will outplay Daniel Jones. So the Bears should get a good win.
Yeah, Mitchell Trubisky really showed up in that fourth quarter. You really hate those birds, don't you?
Yeah, I hate the fucking pterodactyls. What are you at, Jurassic Park or some shit?
Yeah, they're just right here. The sun's coming up. There's babies. It's beautiful. It's we love it. We love it. It's amazing in Nebraska. But no, again, I think Chicago wins this game because of their defense. I think they have one of the top 5 defenses in the league, and we saw what Pittsburgh was able to do to them. We'll just see what happens. But I if I'm putting money on it, I'm putting it on Chicago.
All right, so then we have Atlanta at Dallas. This is going to be my underdog pick with Dallas favored by 4. I'm going to pick Atlanta to win. I did not like what I saw out of Dallas week 1. The offensive line looked bad. The secondary looked bad. The pass rush was not great for Dallas. Zeke did not have a great game. Dak did not have a great game. I thought that Amari and Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb didn't play great. Now, don't get me wrong. That definitely wasn't an offensive pass interference on Gallup, that last play against the Rams there.
No.
But I just didn't like what I saw out of Dallas. But I did like what I saw out of Atlanta week 1. I think the defense gave up a lot of points and has some major issues, but I think that this offense proved that they can go toe-to-toe with anybody. Todd Gurley actually had a pretty okay game. Julio Jones dominated. I think it was 8 catches for 157. I like what I see out of Atlanta, so that's going to be my upset pick. I'm going to pick the Falcons to beat the Cowboys.
Well, thank you for finally picking an upset pick that's realistic, or that's a good one. So
Respectable.
Yeah, respectable. There we go. Respectable.
Why? Who was my last upset pick?
I think it was Tampa Bay over New Orleans.
Oh, yeah. That's the point. Yeah,
Yeah.
but technically the point spread here is Dallas by 4, and the cutoff is Dallas by 3, so it's barely an upset still.
Piss off.
But it's still respectable.
All right. I'm going to go Cowboys over Atlanta. I'm just going to chalk up week 1 to, them being a new system, just kind of gelling all together. I think that when the Cowboys have it on and Zeke's going and Amari Cooper's going and Dak's going, I think that's enough to overwhelm Atlanta, which, the defense still has holes. The secondary is still a mess. And if, the big 3 for Dallas is going, I think they can, take control of that and easily win this game. So for now, I'm going to chalk up to the Cowboys' woes as week 1 jitters.
Yeah, I'm going to chalk it up to Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. I'm picking the Cowboys in this one because we've all agreed that Atlanta defense is trash. They got some other players back that they needed to get back. But I don't think that helps the situation. I think Dak Prescott's going to do something similar to what Russell Wilson did. And I think that the Cowboys as a defense are probably going to show up a little bit better this week. Granted, again, they only held the Rams to 20 points, and how the Rams are playing, they should have scored more than 20 points. So I'm going to give it to I'll give it to the Cowboys on this one. I trust their ability to win as long as it doesn't come down to Mike McCarthy having to manage the clock with 2 minutes left.
For Dallas, Tyron Smith, Amari Cooper, and Anthony Brown are all questionable. So those could be big losses. Then we have a matchup of undefeateds, the Jaguars versus the Titans. I love Minshew Mania. I love when they play the Titans, but I don't think it makes a difference. Even with A.J. Brown out, I'm still going to pick Tennessee to win this game. I think Derrick Henry is going to come back with a little bit of vengeance in terms of the run game. So I'm going to pick Tennessee to win that game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tennessee. I just think without A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry is going to be a problem, and the Jags defense, I don't think has an answer for that. Maybe Miles Jack will show up or something like that, but I think he could get his. And they still have some nice weapons. Jamo Smith, tight end, is promising. Adam Humphries is a nice wide receiver for them, and Corey Davis as well. He's a bust, but he's still a good weapon for them. And like I said, with Jacksonville, I'm chalking up to a week 1 wonder. I got to see it 2 weeks in a row to start to believe in it.
You can't. I don't think you could say he's a bust, but he's also a good weapon for them. I don't think that works.
No,
together.
he was. What was he, like the 5th or 10th overall guy? He's not. He's a bust in that comparison. But can he be? But can he be your 2nd or 3rd or 4th option and be all right? Yeah.
No, I'm just saying. It's like that's that. I feel like that's just a little
contradictory.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
Fair enough.
You know what? I'm gonna pick them until they prove me wrong. Go Jacksonville. They got me week 1. I'm not going to go underdog on this one because I foolishly told Brady who my underdog was before we recorded. So I had Cincinnati, and they covered the spread. That worked.
They did.
But they didn't win the game, which is what matters. So, yeah, I'll pick Jacksonville until they prove me wrong, and they don't win a game. So, yeah, go Jacksonville. Or unless they're playing a actually really, really good opponent. Tennessee's good.
Like the Dolphins.
Yeah. Tennessee's good, but the inability for them to run against a questionable defensive front from Denver, and the fact that A.J. Brown's not playing, C.J. Henderson balled out in week 1. If his job is covering Chris Humphries, Corey Davis, who became their number one threat. I think that's a favorable matchup for Jacksonville.
Yeah. All right, so then we have North versus South here. We have Minnesota at Indianapolis. This one is difficult for me. The spread is Indianapolis by 3, but that's because they're the home team, so realistically it's a wash. I'm going to pick Minnesota, and I'm going to pick Minnesota because with Marlon Mack out, even though Jonathan Taylor's going to have a couple more shots, I like Minnesota's ability to run the ball against Indianapolis more so than I like the Colts' ability to run it against the Vikings. Aaron Jones didn't have a great day running the ball against the Vikings. I think that the Vikings secondary was a little bit trial by fire there. I mean, it was the most points that a Mike Zimmer led team has given up since 2014. So I'm going to pick Minnesota, but this is a really difficult one for me to pick.
I think I'm going to go with you and pick Minnesota. Obviously both of these teams did not perform to how they were expected themselves to perform to, but I think Minnesota showed more promise in their loss. Like, even though they did score in garbage time, they did show they were able to have the ability to. And with, having Dalvin Cook as their running back and Adam Thielen was still Adam Thielen for them, at least they have a more credible offense than what the Colts have right now. I mean, Marlon Mack is gone, so you have Jonathan Taylor, who, he picked up his, points through the air, but he wasn't really that effective on the ground. So you gotta see what comes with that. And it looks like Jack Doyle's out for the Colts as well. So now that your tight end's gone and the wide receiver core is basically, old T.Y. Hilton, I just have more faith in the Vikings right now.
But also remember with Minnesota, Cameron Dantzler, the rookie corner, is out, and Everson Griffin is still on IR. So it's honestly such a toss-up.
I know, but I trust the Vikings just a smidge more.
Fuck you guys. I thought I was going to be quirky and fun by picking Minnesota. But yeah, I'm picking Minnesota. I think that if I'm trusting Kirk Cousins, who doesn't normally play super good, but plays reliably over Phillip Rivers that I have no idea what we're getting from, I'm going to pick Kirk Cousins because I think Gary Kubiak is back into football, and I think that's a good thing. I think that the offense is going to start finding itself in Minnesota. I think they're going to build off of what Stefanski left there. I think that the defense will start – like the reason that they let up that many points is because it's Aaron Rodgers and because they were rookies. I think they're going to fix that. I think the safeties are going to play a lot better for Minnesota today or on Sunday than they did against Green Bay.
All right, so then we have Buffalo at Miami. I think Josh Allen in week 1 had his first ever north of 300 passing day in his career. He still had some pretty big mistakes. I'm going to pick Buffalo. I think defensively they're just going to be able to shut down Fitzmagic a little bit better. The Dolphins' running game is virtually non-existent, and defensively they really just didn't look great against a mobile quarterback in week 1, so I'm going to pick Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bills as well. I just think their defense is going to be too much for Miami, and I think that Josh Allen and the offense is going to be a tougher opponent for the Miami defense than, Cam Newton and his offense was. So I just think with the combination that it's just too much for Miami right now.
I think it's going to be interesting because I don't know how much the Buffalo is going to want to run the ball, and that was really the crux of Miami's defense last year. New England just kept running the ball against them, where it was as if they're throwing the ball, that's the strength of that Miami defense now, which is really weird because it used to be the weakness of their defense, is them throwing the ball. That Buffalo defense is just too good. Josh Allen seems like he knows what he's doing now. If he still makes rookie mistakes, it's not going to get them to the playoffs, but it would win this game, so I'm going to pick Buffalo.
All right, and then we have, I think, what's going to be the toughest game in the entirety of week 1. 2 Super Bowl contending teams who disappointed in week 1 going up against each other. It's the Niners versus the Jets.
Oh.
I was looking through the schedule going, who the fuck is he talking about?
This is so easy for me. Niners win. That pass rush alone is just going to tear Sam Darnold a new one, and I think Sam Darnold may go try to find another disease hooker before this game starts so that he doesn't actually have to play.
Yeah, I think 49ers are going to win this one. They're going to release their pent-out, frustration and anger for what the Cardinals did to them. The Jets look horrible, honestly, in the first week, and I think by next year, Trevor Lawrence is going to be the quarterback of the New York Jets. Book it. They just look god-awful. It looks like they really want that first overall pick over, the Jacksonville Jaguars. So 49ers all day, every day in this game.
I'd just like to say that my team that was supposed to not win any games actually lost their first game. And that continues. Brandon Ayuk is supposed to be coming back. Deebo Samuel is, I think, questionable for the game. So Richard Sherman's still on IR. George Kittle's not playing. That could cause some problems, but also they should be able to run the ball.
They do have Sanu, though.
Yeah, they do have Sanu is back. I don't know what he's going to do. I think not Kevin Stefanski.
Kyle
Shanahan. Thank you. I couldn't think of his first name, and that just fucked me up. Kyle Shanahan, I think, will be able to scheme something up. And he's just a better coach than Adam Gase, so San Francisco.
All right. I think a really interesting matchup. This one is actually being serious. Rams at the Eagles. I'm going to pick the Rams in this game. I think the Rams showed a little bit more, chutzpah on offense than the Eagles did. The Eagles, who were up 17-0, give up 27 straight points, 27 unanswered points. Wentz gets sacked 8 times, and I think Aaron Donald will live in that backfield. The Eagles couldn't run the ball really well, and I thought the Rams ran the ball surprisingly effectively against the Cowboys. So I'm going to pick the Rams.
Quick, before I make my pick, are the Rams playing with no cap space?
I think they might.
That's honestly what it seems like. I mean, Aaron Donald has his, Jared Goff, Jalen Ramsey, and now Robert Woods got his massive contract, but also Cooper Kupps.
Most of those are extensions, so they don't kick in for a while, and they have a lot of dead cap space that's going to be available soon. So,
anyways, I think I'm going to go with Philly over the Rams. I know that Philly does have some issues with their offensive line, but I don't know. The Rams are one of those teams that I can't trust yet until I see it on a consistent basis. And if I'm going to trust Jared Goff or Carson Wentz, I'll probably lean towards a Carson Wentz team than a Jared Goff team. And that's pretty much my only reasoning for picking the Eagles over the Rams.
I think the best thing about McVay is that you don't have to trust Jared Goff. You just have to trust the team. Another thing I think is just hilarious is a big fuck you to Brandon Cooks. Robert Woods is getting paid $1 million more a year than Brandon Cooks is, which is just – that's pretty fucking hilarious.
But he earned it.
He did earn it. He did earn it. But
in LA.
He did earn it, but that's still hilarious. I'm going to pick the Rams here. I think that their defense is just much better than the Eagles. I think that they're going to run the ball relatively well between Brown. Akers might show up. I have no idea. And I think that they were able to throw the ball relatively well too. I think Higbee is a big part of that offense, and he's still, especially the last 4 weeks of last year, and he's continued that trend. Robert Woods has been amazing. Cooper Kupp looks like he's finally healthy. I got to give it to the Rams.
All right. So then we have Denver at Pittsburgh. I definitely think Denver is going to play better, but Denver is walking in with some injuries. AJ Boye is questionable. Mark Barron, Phillip Lindsay are out. Garrett Bowles is questionable. Tyree Cleveland and Cortland Sutton are questionable. I'm going to give it to Pittsburgh here. I wasn't a huge fan of what I saw from Pittsburgh against the Giants. I thought they played really bad the first half. I thought they had a lot of issues running the ball. But Big Ben looked the best he's looked in a while, even going into when he was healthy last season. So I'm going to give it to Pittsburgh. But I think this game is going to be a lot closer than most people expect with how good the Denver defense is, or with how good the Pittsburgh defense is. I think Denver is going to be able to keep it a little bit closer.
I'm going with the upset, baby. I think the Denver Broncos are going to upset the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this is the perfect storybook for the Denver Broncos to get their first marquee win They got some injuries. People are looking down on them. They got to face, the new age Steel Curtain and Big Ben. And I just think that Drew Lock this is going to be his coming out moment to, solidify himself as a real, elite, or not elite, but like an NFL quarterback, so to speak. And I think the Denver Broncos are going to get the upset here.
Yeah, no, Mitch, you're wrong. Pittsburgh's defense is just way too good. I mean, they held one of the best running backs in the league to literally nothing. As much as Melvin Gordon showed some promise with that Denver offensive line last week, it was Tennessee. It's not this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Drew Lock looked pretty well, pretty well in his first week one start, but then again, he wasn't going up against this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Between Hayden and Fitzpatrick, I don't see a way in which he's able to get the ball to people that he wants to, and I don't think even if he could, he'd have to get it out quickly with TJ Watt and Bud Dupree coming at him.
And the possibility of being down 3 receivers in Tyree Cleveland, Cortland Sutton, and KJ Hamler.
That's rough because Jerry Jeudy showed he can do some things in the open field, but you had to get the ball to him first.
Too many drops, too.
Too many drops. Cortland Sutton not being there definitely hurts his offense's chances of working well. So I'm going to have to go with Pittsburgh.
But I think there is a matchup in that game that could benefit Denver really well, and that's Noah Fant versus the Pittsburgh linebackers. I think Noah Fant is highly superior to the coverage linebackers that Pittsburgh has. And I think that he'll have the opportunity to get big yards. He was great in the first half against Tennessee, but then they really just stopped game planning around him, and he disappeared. So then we have Carolina at Tampa. I think this is very easy. Even though I liked what I saw from Carolina, there was no reason that the Raiders should have put up 34 on them. I'm going to give it to Tampa. I think that Tom Brady definitely steps back up because Carolina's defense is worrisome. Although I will say that Christian McCaffrey and Teddy Bridgewater are going to make it a game. I'll give them that, though.
Yeah, I think Tampa's going to win this game. I think they're going to start looking more like the team that everybody was hyping them up to me. Tom Brady will look a little bit more like himself, and I think everything will look a little bit better. Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey, and Teddy Bridgewater is showing, everybody the quarterback that he is and was. But, it's still a brand new team with brand new coaches and stuff, so I still think there's going to be some kinks to work out along the way. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
Tom Brady is looking at the fact that Carolina is starting 4 rookies on their defense and going, yes. He's going to pick apart this defense. It's not even a question. I don't think Gronk is going to do anything because he looks just as slow and he's lost 30 pounds. But that doesn't matter because everybody else looks like they should. I think Chris Godwin's questionable, correct?
Yes,
and so
he's questionable.
So is Mike Evans. That could be a little question. That could be a little concerning, but Tom Brady threw in the slot like he does more than anywhere else. And I think that Carolina just can't defend that.
And even if both of them are questionable, they've still got – Tampa still has 2 really good tight ends behind Gronk.
O.J. Howard and
Cameron Brett. So
yeah, they'll be fine.
So then we have the matchup of teams that nobody expected to win week 1. We have Washington at Arizona. I'm going to pick Arizona. I thought Washington looked pretty good, but offensively there's still a lot of questions. Even though the Arizona offensive line is bad, let's not mince words there. I think that Cliff Kingsbury is going to be able to game plan a short passing game as well as some really good inside runs that are going to take advantage of it. I think it's going to be a little bit more high scoring. I'm anticipating like a 38-30 football game, but I'm going to give my hat to Arizona in that one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Arizona. I think they're the more impressive, well-rounded team, in my opinion. I think a big reason why Washington was able to get upset that week is just because the injuries to Philly's offensive line and that defensive line and Chase Young showing that he was worth that second overall pick. And I think that Arizona has a little bit better of an offensive line just because, all their starters there for the most part and they're healthy. So I'm going to go with Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona winning week 1 makes this a little bit easier for the pick because it's what can this offensive line do against a really good defensive line, and it shows they give Kyler Murray enough time to throw. So Kyler Murray in Arizona gets the win here. Start out 2-0. I think against anybody's expectations.
Yeah, definitely. Kansas City at the Chargers. Kansas City wins. This is easy. The Chargers' offense looked bad against Cincinnati. Their defense looked bad against Cincinnati. And if Kansas City has the ability to run the ball the way that we saw week 1, this is hands down the most dangerous team in football. Kansas City wins.
I think this is where Justin Herbert starts his Super Bowl run. I think he gets the improbable comeback. No, I'm just kidding. I can't do that. Fuck that. Chiefs are going to dominate the Chargers. Their quarterback situation is a mess. And, the whole team is kind of a mess right now. And it's really disappointing just because of the potential they have. But, I mean, the Chiefs basically ran the ball down Houston's throat and were dominant. Just imagine them doing that and then incorporating the Mahomes passing game that we all know and love together. That's fucking dangerous. So I gotta pick them over the Chargers.
I think that there's one team equipped to kind of slow this offense down. It's the Chargers, but their offense fucking sucks.
It doesn't help that they're out Derwin James and they're out so many players.
I think Chris Harris Jr. makes this defense a little bit better. I think the fact that you got Joey Bosa, you got Melvin Ingram, you got these guys on that defensive line that will make it a little bit harder for Mahomes and Edwards-Helaire to get off the ground running. But Tyrod Taylor is just a shit quarterback right now. He did not play well against Cincinnati. They weren't using his legs as much as they should have been. As much as I love Anthony Lynn as a head coach, I got to give it to the Chiefs. God damn it! Why do they both have to start with a ch?
All
right, and then we have our Sunday night game: Patriots at Seahawks. I liked what I saw out of Seattle week 1 a lot more than I liked what I saw out of New England. I'm going to pick Seattle, but I wouldn't be surprised if New England wins this. There's going to be no fans in the stands. So how is Seattle is that environment going to continue there? But I just think that the Seattle offense is good enough, especially with Russell Wilson, to handle what the Patriots defense can throw at them. And I think that the Patriots offense still has some pretty big questions with it and their ability to throw the ball. So I'm going to give it to Seattle.
Man, I really wanted to pick Seattle in this game, but I'm going to have to go with the Patriots. Cam Newton was surprisingly looked good for coming off an injury and being, first game in a Belichick offense. And I just think that, this game against Seattle, he'll look a little more comfortable. New England did lose some key members on the defense, but I still think that the Patriots defense is better than what Seattle has on defense, even though they do have Jamal Adams on the Seattle defense right now. And I gotta go with them, and I can't pick Belichick. I can't pick Seattle over Belichick right now, so I'm gonna go with the Patriots.
If there's one defense that can smother the cooking fire of Russell Wilson, I think it's the Patriots, because J.C. Jackson looked really good. Stephon Gilmore he looked a little shaky, but it's against Devontae Parker, who is apparently the only wide receiver in the NFL that can play against Stephon Gilmore. It's also Miami, so who knows? But our defensive backs looked really good. I mean, we didn't get much of a pass rush, and we still had 3 interceptions. So I gotta go with New England. I think that when we're looking at unless what's his name? Carroll eats his words and starts running the ball more. And even then I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. I mean, a smart man would bet on Seattle, but I'm not a smart man, so New England.
All right, then the Monday night game, we have New Orleans at the Raiders. We are going to finally unveil the brand new Raiders Stadium, but I don't think it makes a difference at all. New Orleans wins this game easy.
Yeah, I think New Orleans is going to win this game easy as well. I think the Raiders showed that the focal point of their offense is going to be Josh Jacobs. You can see that in my fantasy numbers. But I think the Saints and Sean Payton are going to figure out a way to contain Josh Jacobs. And then once he's out of the equation, I don't know what the Raiders offense is going to do. And Drew Brees is still the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, so I'm picking them.
Drew Brees looked old, though, on Sunday. He looked old. I mean, he still was able to complete some passes down the field. But
Younger than Tom Brady.
By like a month. I think that I can't do it. I have to go with the Bruins. I think even an old Drew Brees is better than a Teddy Bridgewater. And I think that Sean Payne is just a better coach at this point. He did that. Don't think that's like even a question. Derek Carr's not going to be able to have his way with this defense like he was against Carolina. Josh Jacobs isn't going to be able to do what he wanted against Carolina this week either. So just looking at it, I have to go with New Orleans.
All right, so those are our picks. On the next full episode next Thursday, we will kind of break down the new winners and who might be in the lead at that point. So now we have to begin to wrap up the show here. But before we do that, we have our hero and our putts. So our hero of the episode, mine is going to go to Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald made one of the smartest football plays I have ever seen in my life. Heading into halftime against the Niners, DeAndre Hopkins gets a catch. There's about 12 seconds left. Clock is running. Arizona needs to spike the ball. What do the Niners defenders do? They basically sit on top of DeAndre Hopkins so that he can't get up. The ref can't get the ball. They try to run the clock out. Larry Fitzgerald runs up, grabs the ball from DeAndre Hopkins, places it on the yard marker. They snap the ball, get the spike, are able to kick a field goal, and that was a huge momentum turner in that game to be able to kick a field goal heading into half. Larry Fitzgerald, you're my hero. That was one of the smartest football plays I've ever seen in my life.
All right, my hero goes to some guys in football who don't get a lot of credit, and that's a certain kicker named Justin Tucker. As he made his first field goal of the season, as he kicked it, he yelled out, "Still fucking got it." And I thought that was such a boss move.
He didn't even yell it. He, screamed it. He was like, "Still fucking got it."
So my props is a Justin Tucker bet. That's awesome.
I'm going to go a little bit more dark on this. My hero, just in general, I have a father-son duo, Scott Frost and Larry Frost. This last Wednesday, as news broke that the Big Ten was coming back, Scott Frost also lost his dad. Larry Frost played for the Nebraska. He was part of the 1970 team that won a championship. He's inducted in the Nebraska Sports Hall of Fame. He obviously is Scott Frost's dad, and was part of the reason why Scott Frost decided to transfer back to Nebraska. Just condolences to Scott Frost, because in a time when he would be with his team celebrating, getting ready for Ohio State, as much as we don't want to be getting ready for Ohio State, he has to help his family out right now. And my condolences and thoughts go out to him, as well as the Bader Ginsburg family. I'm going to put RGB up there as a hero too, because
oh, hell yeah, man. Fucking R.I.P. the notorious RBG.
Yeah, as much as she's not much of a sports person, but as just a good person who changed the world for the better, RGB. I was legitimately crying when I saw the news. And everything we saw, everything that people have done, I don't think anybody really competes with her. She was only the second person on the Supreme Court. So take that into consideration, guys. People that have seen how many women are on the Supreme Court now. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was only the second woman ever on the highest court in our country, and she deserves credit for that. And thank you for making the world a better place.
Yeah, hell yeah. R.I.P. Man, she was a baller. So now we have our putts.
I love it.
Now we have our putts. My putts goes to Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers now in his coaching career has lost 8 times in a Game 7 situation, most in NBA history. Let me walk you through all the times Doc Rivers has blown a lead in the playoffs. He had a 3-1 lead in 2003, lost. He had a 3-2 lead in 2009, lost. He had a 3-2 lead in 2010, lost. He had a 3-2 lead in 2012, lost. He had a 3-1 lead in 2015, lost.
Oh.
He had a 2-0 lead in 2016, lost. And he had a 3-1 lead in 2020, and he lost.
What?
He lost. He's overrated. He's not a good coach. And between that And the fact that in the fourth fucking quarter of Game 7, to get your franchise to its first ever conference finals, your fucking players are walking up to you and saying, "Coach, I'm tired. Pull me from the game." That is cancerous. And that's shitty that as a coach, you can't motivate your players enough to get over the fact that they're fucking tired to play in Game 7 of the playoffs? Jesus Christ. Like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense, all right? The only thing that makes sense is that as a head coach, he created a style in the locker room, not of winning, but of doing what you want, and if we win, we win. Which is why he didn't give a fuck when he was benching players for rest time, and he was doing it more than any other coach in the NBA, which is why he didn't give a fuck that Marcus Morris was intentionally trying to hurt Luka Doncic, which is why he didn't give a fuck that his team was tired in Game 7 of the fucking semis. You tell your guys to grow a fucking pair. It is 12 minutes of basketball. You guys get paid tens of millions of dollars to play basketball professionally, to play a fucking game professionally. And in Game 7 of the playoffs, you can't motivate yourself to get over being tired. Hey, Mitch, how many times in high school football did you and me get yelled at did the whole team get yelled at by coaches because it seemed like we were tired, right? Like,
especially by one Mr. Papez.
Yeah, like where is that shit? Where is that shit? If the coaches thought for a moment you were slacking off because you were tired, they would tear you a new asshole. All right? Now, granted, high school football is completely different than NBA basketball, and I understand that completely.
Not the same.
All right? It's the different – body sets are the same amount of white guys. It's great. So, but come on, Doc Rivers. Like, you purposely leave Boston to avoid a rebuild that was your fault that Boston had to rebuild. To go to the Clippers, to force them into a situation where you have your own new big three there, and it doesn't work out. And then you force the Clippers into trading for more quality players. You have a bench that alone could probably get you into the second round of the playoffs. And you can't fucking motivate your team to not go to a strip club to get hot wings, to not fucking to not want to give your all in the fucking playoffs. Just fuck off, Doc Rivers. You don't deserve to be an NBA head coach anymore. You just don't. You don't. Absolutely.
They should hire Pape as their conditioning coach.
They should hire me. All right, good job, guys. Go hit the chocolate fountain.
All right, so my putts, I'm going over to the other side of the Staples Center to the other LA team, and I'm picking LeBron James and LeBron fans because it was announced that Giannis was going to win his second MVP in a row. LeBron fans lost their minds, saying like, "Oh, it should have been LeBron," and then LeBron, has his performance in Game 1 and talks about how he was mad that he only got 16 votes. And I told Skyler last night, and I was like, so LeBron James playing mad is him playing slightly better than Dwight Howard that night. They definitely got their vote right then. I mean, this whole playoff series, who's leading the charge? Anthony Davis. That's why they're doing so good. It's Anthony fucking Davis. He's the one who's balling out, who put up 40 points last night and crazy. He's the reason he's the reason your team's winning. He's the reason your team's a contender. You're not even the best guy on your fucking team, and you think you deserve MVP? Fuck off.
See, for the thing I did have to see is that from watching the video and looking at it again, his problem wasn't the fact that he didn't win the MVP, because he even admitted the season that Giannis had, he deserved it. His problem was
the fact. He didn't say Giannis. He said the winner.
Okay, well, fine.
Bitch.
All right, fine. But he said that they deserve to win it. The thing that he has a problem with is the voting, and I can give it to him because he specifically pointed out in 2012, 2013 when he was up for Defensive Player of the Year, and Marc Gasol won Defensive Player of the Year, and then got all defensive second team. So that makes sense why he would have a gripe with it, because he would have won if he had won that. He would have won the MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year that year. So I get his gripe with it. I do agree that he could have worded it better and he could have had a little bit more decorum when it comes to it. His point, understandable, because the voting is a little weird in across sports, not just the NBA, across sports. But again,
Giannis deserved it. Everybody on the first team deserved what they got. I think all of the awards went to people that deserved it this year, but I can understand why he would think the voting is a little bit more narrative based than it is statistic, and there's no consistency to it. I get it. I get that.
All right, Skylar, your putts?
My putts is Alejandro Villanueva. For those of you that don't know who Mr. Villanueva is, he is the left guard for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Played for Army. First, let me get it out of the way. Alejandro Villanueva, thank you for your service. You are an immigrant to this country, came from Spain. Thank you for serving your country. Thank you for doing what you do. This is nothing against the military. This is nothing against what he did or the service of many, many people. My grandfather was in the Air Force. My dad was in the Air Force. They did all of that, and I very much respect our military members. You're an asshole. Okay? The entire team decided to honor a Pittsburgh native that was gunned down by police officers. And you decided to write over that person with a veteran that lost their life during Operation Iraqi Freedom. This is nothing against the fact that man shouldn't be honored. He should be honored. But this is the second time that you have gone against the wishes of your team to stand out. The NFL honors veterans all the fucking time. We have an entire month dedicated to those that served. The NFL gets a ton of donations from the Department of Defense, from the Pentagon, and I don't think that's a coincidence. Okay, guys, veterans are honored every single day. Right now, sports and activists are trying to focus the attention on Black people that are getting systemically killed by police officers in this country. I understand why you did it. I get it. I am mad too that our veterans are treated like shit. Okay, I'm mad that our president called them losers for dying, and that he doesn't want to associate himself with POWs or missing in actions. I get that. I'm upset by that too. Okay, but right now, this is the second time that you've decided to go against the wishes of your team in order to bring a spotlight to your service. Thank you. Thank you very much for your service. Thank you for deciding to serve your country when you're not from our country. Thank you. But understand that there are people in our country, there are Black men that you served with right now that are getting arrested, that are getting shot down because they're Black. There's a reason your team decided to do that. Respect the reason.
Yeah, so on that happy note, we thank everybody for tuning into episode 38 of the Fourth String Sports Podcast. We have the light episode coming up where we're going to break down the entirety of the Big Ten schedule. We're going to pick our conference winners or division winners, and then the who we think is going to win the Big Ten. And then on the next main episode, we're going to talk about week 2 of the NFL season. We're going to preview the Thursday night week 3 game. We're going to talk about the NBA because by then there's a chance that the finals matchup may be set, or at least be very close to being set. The Heat have a 2-0 lead on the Celtics, and now the Lakers have a 1-0 lead over the Nuggets. I think Heat-Celtics play again tonight for Game 3. So we'll see how that goes. We appreciate everybody for tuning in and listening. Boys, before I do just a brief talk-off, anything else that you want to contribute?
Oh, yeah, just one funny story that happened over last weekend that I forgot to mention. So ESPN writer for college football tweeted out last Sunday that said, Mitch just ain't it. And then I tweeted him and said, fuck you. And in response, he liked it. So it made me feel lucky and happy.
Yeah. Just a quick update on fantasy. All three of us won. Fuck you, TJ.
I dominated you, TJ.
This week, me and Mitch play each other. I think, Brady, do you play TJ this week?
No, I have one of the other guys.
Okay. Well, but we'll keep you updated. So far, your hosts are doing well. Please email who you think is going to win between me and Mitch. We all know it's going to be me. So I'm talking right now. It's my segment. It's my thing. Ha 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 ha. And Brady, end it.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody for tuning in and listening. Follow us on everything: Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, SoundCloud, Reddit, YouTube. Email us your guys' thoughts, fourthstringsp@gmail.com. That is fourthstring@gmail.com. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode, and have a fantastic night. Go Pack, go.
Go back, go.